Greetings, sentient beings. This broadcast is not intended for children. There may be strong language and adult themes. Possibly slightly less chance of that today since it seems a calmer topic.
Oh, we can fix that.
So with us today we have Mage Grey Wolf, and as always, our beloved Jenny. Although the weather here in Minnesota is being oppressively hot, so Jenny is staying inside because it's not safe to be out there.
No, it's not. I apologize, Chad. I have all kinds of lung and heart issues, and if I go out in hot, humid like this, I might not come back.
Yeah, I can see how that'd be an issue.
Well, it's definitely a good call. I think even for people who don't have the complications, being out in this weather is a bit much.
Isn't that interesting though? In this I have to stay inside, but geez, if it's 40 below, I can go outside yet. Oh well.
And let's see, in the side chat, I see Robert X and Critical Cupcake.
Robert X? No way.
One thing I have to remark on that our other main moderator, Ox, posted a thing to YouTube that was a farewell message. So I don't know if we're going to be seeing him around anymore.
Farewell message.
Ox,
yeah.
Ox
Go ahead, Jenny.
Ox seems to be a very sensitive person, and is very deeply upset internally from all the crap that YouTube and Twitter are. Which is basically a cesspool of human emotion and horrible behavior. And I understand that completely, but I'm going to miss Ox immensely. I really enjoyed his comments. I mean, he was really funny lots of times, and his diligence to be looking things up in the middle to try and catch you and in a fact incorrect or something like that. I don't know. That's not necessarily his motivation, but him finding out things and sharing them online quickly during the show and stuff. It's going to be very sad to not have him around. I wish he would reconsider, but it's what you got to do. You got to do.
Yeah, well, and especially that Ox's Native American background on the issues of the way minorities are being treated was set off many times, which is certainly completely justified.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand how the politics of today is kind of slow crushing. Hey, Skits.
Hello.
I mean, all discrimination is horrible, and it's racial discrimination, and I feel as a trans woman and stuff. But the Native Americans get it even worse because most people just don't even think about that as an issue at all. That Native Americans are so invisible to the mass, to white America, that they don't even consider that they have been abused for the last 400 years. And why don't we care more about the thousands of women who've disappeared up north? And
yeah,
I just feel bad for Ox.
Well, and like we were just talking last week, Juneteenth and all, and about the slavery, and everybody focuses on the blacks, but the Native Americans were also enslaved in huge numbers.
Yeah. And we're living on their property. And we killed all their animals and polluted all their streams, and
I'm still doing it.
Yep. And thinking it's okay. How did today get to be? Is this, I presume, International Rainforest Day?
Yeah, I don't really know, what process there is for these days getting national recognition or what.
That's not a complaint. I'm just curious what process they went through, and just
I should look it up for as long as I've been doing this.
picked it up out of their butts. And I apologize again to the chat. I'm here busily consuming my cup of noodles.
How to create a holiday.
Yeah.
To be a true national day, one of the following conditions must be met. A proclamation is issued by the President of the United States. An act of Congress that this requires a legislator to propose the day in Congress votes approval. Three, for other country, is the president or head of the government or the national legislator declare it to be a national holiday.
Yes, I understand that to declare something a world day requires some similar process to be in the United Nations.
Well, but the word world such and such is not trademarked or anything. Anybody can use the world grasshopper day or something.
Yeah, I know, but to make it an official holiday.
And what makes it an official holiday? Does everybody take off? That means we'd have holidays 365 and people should not work at all anywhere ever. So what does holiday mean? Day of recognition? That's
Yeah, Day of Recognition is about all it is anymore.
It's like Valentine's Day is really mostly Hallmark card and Roses Day.
Well, a lot of the holidays we have now are artificially created by Hallmark.
And Halloween has become make anything you possibly can sexualized and over the edge day.
Let's see here.
Well, see, Halloween was always about scary costumes, and what's more conservative? What's more scary to conservative evangelicals than being sexy?
Good point.
Well, we have Rainforest Day. The day has been set aside to help protect rainforests by raising awareness and encouraging action and protect them.
Yeah, so we're destroying the rainforest by hundreds of acres a day, literally. So we'll protect it by one day a year talking about it.
There you go.
Well, I think it's a good day to mention that there are more than just the tropical rainforests. There are northern rainforests, like Olympia National Park is pretty much a rainforest. And there's others around the world that are in more northern climes. But of course, we're not harvesting.
Very true.
And burning them down for money.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing, that so much of the rainforest is being destroyed, not even that they're harvesting anything for it, but that they're clearing the land to graze cattle.
For McDonald's.
Yeah.
Or that Argentina.
No, that's the rainforest in general in South America. Brazil's doing a lot of it too.
What an amazing place a rainforest is, though, with all the diversity of biology and how much of it is going to be gone because of the great extinction that's going on right now.
Yeah, well, and how many species are going to go extinct even before we even, identify them? Because they're still identifying new species, coming from the rainforest really, almost every day. especially new insects that we weren't aware of.
See, when you said new insects, I immediately thought of new Republican politicians I have never heard of before.
I can make a holiday too. World Give a Spider a Pepsi Day.
Well, I like that. Pepsi, no Coke.
Give a spider or a Pepsi Day, huh?
Okay. I don't drink any kind of cola anymore. I used to go through like 2 liters of Pepsi a day, and since my late fiance broke me of that, so now I can't stand cola at all. But the big difference between Coke and Pepsi is if you're just going to drink it alone, Pepsi is better. Coke is too sweet. But because Coke is sweeter and thicker, it makes a better mixer.
I'll usually go with Dr. Pepper, or my favorite's root beer.
If I drink pop at all anymore, it's usually ginger ale or occasionally Fanta orange.
I am planning on making my own ginger beer.
I really like true ginger ale that's made with serious amounts of actual ginger. I think it's pretty damn tasty.
Well, ginger ale, ginger beer is basically what I'm going to be making as soon as I grow enough.
Yeah, but nothing tastes like orange beer. It doesn't taste like orange. It tastes like bitter old beer. Pumpkin beer does not have any pumpkin taste to it. It tastes like beer. I'm sorry.
Wrong kind of beer. Though I can make an alcoholic version of ginger beer.
Yeah, I do like a good sharp ginger beer when I can find it, but again, it's something I haven't been able to find for years. The Stewart's brand made a good one.
I would recommend the Cock and Bull brand.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the Cock and Bull. The Stewart's I just can't find in the city, so it's something I've got to think about. Next time I have to drive into Minneapolis to look for it.
Well, keep an eye out for that for the Cock and Bull brand. I think you'll like it.
You guys broke 100 yesterday, didn't you? There in Minneapolis.
Well, we're in St. Cloud, but yeah, we did break 100. Nerdy, actually, April 4th is World Rat Day. Is that good enough for you? And Nerdy's going to argue with me.
See, let's see, people hate me now for not liking beer. Now they can hate me for not liking soda. Ugh, I think they're all horrible. Except root beer and cream soda and sarsaparilla.
Yeah, I'm the
Sure,
same.
just keep adding the exceptions for sure.
I've never had an alcoholic ginger beer. Yeah, I can't stand beer either, but the closest I would ever get to drinking beer is like the hard lemonade, which I know is a malt beverage, so it's basically a flavored beer.
When I make this ginger beer or ginger ale, however you want to put it, I'm thinking about using brown sugar and molasses.
Yeah, I wish you were close enough that I could try it. Okay, we tried that one, Skits, but people were mispronouncing it so bad that everybody was hugging dumpsters in Britain.
How does that work? I'm sorry, I missed the joke.
Sorry, in Britain, a skip is another term for a dumpster.
Oh, okay. It's the bin. That's the one I always.
Yeah, it wasn't much of a joke.
We use bin for trash and bucket once in a while here, but
Okay, Jenny, what do you drink in a bar?
um, if I'm going to have alcohol, gin and tonic, or if I'm rich that particular day, I might have a top shelf Scotch single malt. Like depends on what they have. But gin and tonic is my general go-to. It's hard to wreck those.
I was expecting a punchline.
Well, I'll have punch too if they have it. You know, it's alcoholic punch is pretty good.
Yeah, a bar I'll usually go with a screwdriver, or just at home I'll usually just have some kind of rum.
Well, I normally drink whiskey and ginger ale at home, and that's a safe thing to order at a bar. But sometimes I get more adventurous. Although I do tend to like really fruity drinks. I like strawberry margaritas.
Yeah, those are pretty tasty. I have to confess also that I'm a kind of a sweet drink person. I like the sweet wine and I like the sweet alcoholic.
Yeah, I'm more for sweet stuff as well.
Yeah, many years ago, before I had moved to New York, in Minneapolis, there was a place called Montanitas. I don't know if it's still there.
Yes, spiced rum.
Ah,
Answering
but
the question in the chat there.
yeah, at Montanitas on Tuesdays they had 2-for-1 margaritas, and also since it was Taco Tuesday, they had a free taco bar. So I could go in there and order one drink and get 2 drinks and a free dinner.
Yeah, one of my favorite rums would be the Kraken Dark Label. It's not as sharp as the regular white label stuff, but it has the same good flavor to it.
Yeah, I can't drink rum because I'm allergic to sugarcane. But I have heard that in Africa they make rum from pineapple, and I'd like to try that.
Pineapple? I've had pineapple rum. That's pretty good.
What is rum usually made out of?
It's usually distilled from sugarcane. That's why the whole association of rum and pirates is because it was something that was cheap and easy to get in the Caribbean. Basically, a lot of solar distillers that they would just, throw heaps of sugarcane into it and collect the stuff that boiled off the top when the sun was baking it.
When I was a kid, I used to think pirates were all from like the South Pacific, Micronesia kind of stuff. I never realized that it was the Caribbean that they were talking about all these years.
Yeah.
I actually only realized that like maybe 10 years ago.
I think that's common, as a kid, not even knowing where the Caribbean was when I was growing up. Yeah, Andrew, this is the odd thing. I'm allergic to sugarcane, so I have to be careful what sugar. Beet sugar doesn't bother me, which fortunately in Minnesota, most of what we get is beet sugar because that's something they produce locally in obscene quantities.
I like beets a lot. Beets are very nummy.
I don't really care for beets on their own.
How to make beet sugar at home? I will have to watch this later. I could use an excuse to grow beets.
Well, actually, with beets, the sugar is actually made from the outer husk. It was actually a byproduct of them, growing the beets for food, that they wanted to come up with something to use the part they peeled off before they cooked them.
Really?
Yep.
Because I usually don't peel a beet. I whack the root in the top off and quarter them or whatever, and cook them up that way. Eat the skin or whatever.
What you buy at the store probably has already been peeled.
Oh no, that's not possible. Beets bleed like crazy if you break the suit of skin.
Well, the stuff that you buy canned has already been peeled, and that's where it started when they started canning them.
Oh, okay. That I can accept.
Hey Jeff, what you up to today?
Yeah, hi Perp. So just saw the link. Just thought I'd pop in. What have I missed so far? 'Cause I haven't been I've been just sort of catching up. So
Haven't missed much.
Well, we talked
Yeah.
about Ox's Farewell, treatment of Native Americans. How does a day
Hmm.
become a nationally recognized day? Ginger beer. What do you order at a bar? And now we've been talking about sugar.
And I see. We moved on from ginger beer because I couldn't understand why
I
we
hate
make
I
beer
hate
out-
ginger beer.
why we want to make beer out of redheaded people.
I was mentioning I was planning on making my own ginger beer.
No. Jenny, you've got it all wrong. Ginger beer. It's like, there's brown bears, there's white bears, and there's ginger beers.
There you go.
You got to watch out for the ginger beers. They're kind of vicious, especially if they want to get to your picnic.
You mean they're not like pandas, all fluffy and squishy?
Nope. Oh. And Sammy is having problems with his allergies today.
Oh yeah, I was having a bit of allergies earlier.
Yeah, my kitty is sneezing, so part of why it took me longer to get started was I had to clean the cat snot out of my trackball.
I was a little annoyed. I forgot to buy something at the grocery store, so I had to go out this morning again. And the grocery store I went to didn't have everything I was looking for, so I had to go to the other grocery store again.
I'm glad you don't think I'm allergic to our Republicans.
Yeah, grocery shopping has gotten annoying since I don't have a car.
I would hate to grocery shop without a car.
At
At least there's a store close to me where I could walk to it if I need to.
Yeah, well, see, that's the thing that, while with the car, everything here seemed relatively close. Everything's within 5 miles. Unfortunately, on the bus, it doesn't work as well because, like, the pharmacy and the grocery store are both within 5 miles of the house, but they're 2 miles apart. So I wind up doing a lot of walking. And around here, when after COVID started, they knocked the buses down to once an hour.
Yeah, great.
So yeah, it's like either I walk a mile to the next
Oh, yeah.
store or I wait an hour for a bus.
I use my car.
Jeff, you're roboting pretty bad.
Me, everything.
Yeah, you're
hold on,
breaking up so
okay.
much I really can't understand you.
Yeah,
Is
That's
this
better.
better?
That's much better.
Well, I think I was in a bad spot for my Wi-Fi. Sorry, I'm on my phone, so.
So are you out and about today, or?
I've been working, but I'm sort of because we've got what constitutes a heat wave in the UK at the moment, and I've sort of trying to sat outside. Unfortunately, the Wi-Fi could be a bit weird depending on where you sit outside here. So
Yeah, well, that's we're having a heat wave here to the point that's dangerous to be outside.
mm,
Oh,
And a
come on.
couple of times this week we've gotten up to 100 degrees.
ouch. Yeah, we
Looks
haven't
like
quite gotten that high yet, but
looks like Friday for me is a high of 91.
I will give a little update on one thing that's happened with me, though, because I think I will do it here because I publicly slated the guy on your channel last week. Perhaps myself and Isaiah from RHE podcast have called a truce, so we're hopefully going to be having a discussion on my channel on Monday. So but we've kind of agreed to stop bashing each other publicly. So
that's good.
yeah. Well, we'll see how it goes. I mean, can't say we're necessarily like best buds or anything like that yet, but I'm gonna give. I think we're gonna, I'm giving the guy one more chance. Let's put it that way.
Well, as long as you both are willing to make an honest effort at it.
Yeah. Well, I sort of said I said, listen, if you have this conversation with me that I've been wanting with him for like about a month now, and you just have it with me and be honest, I'll apologize for calling you disingenuous on my live on my channel. So I mean, I don't think you can be fairer than that, can you?
Well, don't you have to isn't it kind of required to be a bringer of non-truth if you're an apologist?
I wouldn't call this guy an apologist as such. I don't think there's a couple of his arguments I think are very, very bad. So, but let's just put it this way: it's kind of I mean, I think I think you do have to do a lot of mental gymnastics to be an apologist, in my opinion. But
yeah,
but some people, but there are some theists who are very, very good at or even apologists that are very good at like actual reasoning or whatever, and but he's I'm not gonna he's not one of them. I'm going to be kind here, but we're gonna try and have this conversation anyway and see what happens.
hell yeah. And I'll grant that some of them, sincerely believe it all. So, there's a huge difference between those who are actually believing what they're talking about and they're trying to reason it out, and some of them that are just grifters.
Yep, indeed.
I'm sorry, but if you have to go through that much mental gymnastics to believe something or to have faith in something that doesn't exist, maybe it really doesn't exist.
Yeah, but I think the problem is that the people who were brought up in a church, that they were taught this, basically every day since before they were old enough to, even speak for themselves. If they're brought up with that, and if they never really learned actual critical thinking, they don't even see the path out of it.
Now, I mean, and there are people that do come to like theism through, I'd say, reasons positions. Even if I don't agree with their line of reasoning, I couldn't say that it's an unreasoned position they had. Even if I don't agree with their particular line of reasoning.
Well, and okay, not so much Christianity, but when I was a pagan, I got to that point by reasoning things out and, having logical arguments that there had to be some kind of God.
And I would say it's what, particularly if you look around our own online community, some of the people we know that are polytheists, actually some of them like young Chaos and people like Ocean Kelsoy or whatever, they run rings around most atheists in reasoned discussions.
Oh yeah, Chaos makes some excellent arguments.
Chaos is super smart. They really are. They're so. I'm quite in awe of, especially knowing how young they are and how switched on. And I feel like Chaos has already forgotten more about topics like philosophy than most of us are going to learn. So,
well, not just the religion stuff, but yeah, I'm somewhat envious of Chaos that they seem to have figured out so much and gotten so much of their life together at such a young age.
In my experience, most God beliefs tend to be based on emotion more than reasoning.
Yeah. And I think that's why it never took well with me, that with the autism, I was never really emotional about much of anything.
I completely agree with the statement that Chaos is brilliant. I think they really are. They're also really cute. But anyways, I haven't heard them discuss religion enough to consider their level of smarts regarding it. Because I just don't listen to people who are professing religiosity.
Yeah.
They had done a show before that they actually had, Chaos as a polytheist and a Christian and an atheist, on the show together, just discussing religious topics.
That was with Will and Maddie, wasn't it? They were doing that for a little while.
Yeah, they haven't done that show for like a year or so.
Yeah, it was good while it was going. So. Yeah, I mean, because sadly, I like I said, I feel that sometimes I feel like a lot of the worst arguments I've seen over the past year have actually been coming from our own side, and I find that a little embarrassing at times. So. But that's just me personally.
Yeah, I am fairly new to the. Well, I guess I'm getting on as far as the atheist stuff. I've been involved in this for, I guess going on 5 years now. But as far as all the arguments for it and that.
Yeah, I think this is the thing that I feel sometimes you either end up tuning out on a lot of it, or you get to a certain point where the sort of stuff the stuff you were talking about or whatever a few years ago just is you want to go a little deeper on certain topics or whatever, and realize that certain little things that positions, I'd say more, should we say, common atheist memes are quite bad, some of them. And, so I do seem to spend a lot of time addressing some real bad atheist, like meme type of arguments that,
Well, after about a year, you've already heard all the arguments, and it just becomes very redundant.
This is why I can't watch like things like the Atheist Experience anymore, because I've probably heard all the I've heard all the conversations that there are to have on that show 10, 15 times over. And I kind of have been put off of the spectacle of Dillahunty shutting the theist caller down and hanging up on them. I've kind of got a bit tired of that sort of spectacle, so
I never really watched him on a regular basis. I mean, you know, he's smart and all, but just never
Oh,
really caught my interest.
He's super smart. I would never take that guy away from the guy, but there's only so many times you can listen to the same arguments, and I feel, you know,
I've been preferring more of the Socratic method to as an approach.
Yeah.
Sometimes, though, I have to think twice about the statement that this or that religious apologist is really smart, because for me, it's how smart can you be? You believe in something that doesn't exist.
I don't really go down. No, I wouldn't
No.
recommend going down the road of they're just stupid. It's just that's
not-
oversimplifying
no,
it.
Yeah.
no. Questioning whether or not they're really brilliant is not calling them stupid. It's calling them not any more than average.
I wouldn't even go that far.
Oh, sorry, I just don't understand how people can believe in something that's not there.
Well, when you're talking about indoctrination, it's not really a question of intelligence.
Yeah.
It's, mostly that, that people can be very intelligent. They can have a lot of knowledge without having ever learned critical thinking.
I remember.
They can be very intelligent. I mean, when I interviewed Chris Shelton on my channel, if you remember him, he's like ex-Scientologist guy. And one of the things like he'll say about people who are into Scientology, so the majority of them are really, really smart people. But in a way, it's because they're quite smart. They know how to sort of justify it to themselves. And I think there's a similar thing that kind of goes on there. With some of the smarter apologists or whatever, they know their way to justify it to themselves. But I mean, I've always kind of taken the line that the fact you actually have to call it apologism in the first place is kind of a win for us in a certain way.
I have said that if you have to apologize for your religion, you really need to examine your religion.
For an example of intelligent speaking, we have William. I'm gonna butcher this kid's last name. Mayalis. He was a 11-year-old little genius prodigy, and he thinks God. It must be God.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, again, though, I'd say I'd sort of sometimes I'd say you've got to sometimes separate like a belief in a god necessarily. I mean, I don't know this guy whether it's a particular version of a god that he believes in. But you can sort of come to the conclusion that there has to be a god. But it doesn't necessarily have to be like any particular religion's version of a god. So, because I mean, I think at the point when you're sort of just kind of defending mythology as being literal truth, then yeah, okay, you're doing some serious, you're doing some serious, mental gymnastics there. Or things like young Earth creationism, for example, and saying like the Bible is literally scientifically and historically accurate. You're doing some spectacular mental gymnastics because we can demonstrate that it is not. But it doesn't necessarily mean that just because that version of a god does not exist, that the Christian interpretation of God or the Islam's interpretation of God, of what God is, that doesn't necessarily negate the possibility of a deity as such. So I think you do have to sometimes realize think along those lines when dealing with one or two of these arguments.
I think well, I know in my own heart that I would feel much better about people who choose religiosity if they would just accept the fact that they should keep it to their damn self in their temple or church or whatever, or in their home, and not put it out on the street, not put it to tell me, I'm facing God's wrath every time I fart in an elevator or something.
Yeah, I don't care about
a bit, quite frankly.
I don't care about what
think
anybody
we
wants
agree
to
on that.
believe, as long as they're not using it from.
I first started getting sick of this, 20, 30 or more years ago, when there was this guy, I'm calling it this guy because it was so ubiquitous, that every time you watched a baseball game, for example, there was always some guy in the background behind the plate with John 3:16. Well, how dare you be pushing that on the world when they're trying to be entertained by something completely unrelated? How dare you interfere with everybody else's thought lines with that crap?
And you'd be facing my wrath if I fart in an elevator.
Well,
dog farts are the worst.
Experience if you do it right. It's just, and it's just gotten worse and worse and worse. And the Christian apologists who think that they're being discriminated against. Well, you brought this on yourself, baby. If you don't realize that shouting your crap to everybody when they don't want to hear it is a foolish thing, and destroys their rights as much as you think your rights are being destroyed by not doing it.
Well, it's not a matter of shouting their crap. It's a matter of that they're trying to make their crap law.
Yeah, that's how you have the.
That's what it's into.
Yeah, what was that
that's where you the issue comes into play here, is that they are lobbying for political change based upon those beliefs. That's obviously where which might come up when I have my discussion with Desire, actually, because one of the things he sort of said, he doesn't understand why, in the discussion I saw him have with Jay, he sort of said he doesn't understand why these atheists have to come together over just not believing or lacking a belief in God. And I'm not even going to get into the definitions argument. I might do with him, but I'm not going to get into that here. But I pointed out on the stream when I was reviewing that discussion he had with Jay that, well, actually, the reasons a lot of these groups, like say American Atheists or AAI, whoever they might be, exist is because there kind of needs to be a counter. Unfortunately, because of the situation where certainly what you have in the United States and in a lot of countries around the world, there's a lot of lobbying being done on religious grounds, and you need like secular organizations to be a counter to that. And as far as other things like groups and communities or whatever, there's a reason that they exist. Because sometimes you've got people who who've lost family and friends or their own social circles or whatever, or support network, because they've decided to come out as being as not non-believers. So you kind of you do need these things that are going to be there's a reason these groups exist, and so you see what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Mm.
And it's kind of a failing of our society that, people will get pushed aside and swept under the rug. So, they need something else to hold on to, something else to believe in.
Yeah.
You're about the funding of religious schools by taxpayer money?
The Republicans have been pushing for that for decades.
By a 6-3 vote along ideological lines, the court opened the door further for those seeking taxpayer funding for religious schools.
Yeah,
And
they
they
declared.
did what?
I think it was a Massachusetts thing that they declared unconstitutional
Oh,
Yeah, I think
because
that was
it was providing
Yeah.
state
it was-
scholarships for colleges, but it was exempting religious schools.
I think it was Connecticut, but I could be wrong.
Okay,
what
I
they've
could
done-
be wrong.
For my money, what they've done is they've opened the door to saying, well, then if they're going to get our tax dollars directly like this, it's time for them to be taxed. Period.
Yep.
I
agree.
can
it's from
tell
a-
you this about the UK, but my experience in the UK with like talk around faith school, like what was faith schools and so on, or schools where religion's permissible. And this only ever started becoming an issue in the UK about 15 to 20 years ago when there was talk about faith schools for Muslims. Now, I'm of the opinion that I would sooner see religion altogether out of schools in the UK. I mean, I'm okay with like the thing of I'm okay with like religious education being a subject because I think that's actually quite useful. That's teaching people about different faiths and cultures
Yeah.
or whatever around the world. That's a different matter. But the whole thing of like prayers in school and like the whatever. See, here I've got kind of a all or nothing thing on there. And my thing is, well, I would much sooner see religion out of all of our primary schools and secondary schools.
Yeah.
However, if you are going to say the Church of England's allowed to run schools, that the Catholic Church is allowed to run schools, that Jewish groups are allowed to run schools, then as far as I'm concerned, you've got to allow Muslims that same right as well. So it's either you've got to be all in one way or the other, as far as I'm concerned on that.
I would rather it be the other. I would like to see. I take my angst about religion far enough that I don't think our country should be celebrating on a national scale any religious holidays of any religion. I mean, Christmas. Fuck Christmas.
Yep.
Oh, it was a ruling from a case from Maine.
Easter. Fuck Easter. You're welcome to have that little holiday yourself, but you arrange to be off by taking vacation time. This is not a national holiday. The country does not celebrate this. Some people in the country do, and I'm tired of our economy having problems because of a holiday and all the lack of productivity and stuff.
Nerdy. I'm gonna actually say I would I'm saying this because this is my former sort of religious beliefs here. Like prayers to Odin in school. Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily be against that, but then again, depending on which groups that are Norse pagans kind of running them. Let's put it that way, because even though most of the people who are Norse pagans or whatever, like guys like Ocean Keltoy, for example, great guys or whatever. There is sadly an element within Norse paganism that is seriously far right wing. So
Well, if the Supreme Court wants to start pulling this kind of crap with our taxpayer money, maybe it's time for the Satanic Church to open a few schools.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's gonna take something like that. But all this bullshit about that they shout about their religious freedom. The only thing that's going to put that down is when some Muslim claims the same rights.
Yeah,
and then you can bet that the court's going to strike all that down immediately.
Well, I forget the name of the guy, but he's from the Freedom from Religion Foundation. Is it Tadell? I'm forgetting his name, but he's kind of referred to the Satanic Temple as his nuclear option when dealing with these cases. When he's having these things where the church and state boundary is being, shall we say, abused, but by church groups. It's generally then he does say, yeah, he does tend to put in a call to Lucian Greaves and for the Satanic Temple and say, hey, you want to come and set up something along the same lines here?
Yeah, I can see how it could be seen as a nuclear option, but
no, that's just the way he's referred to them. He's just like they're kind of the nuclear option that he'll go to.
I don't know. Right now, maybe we might need a nuclear option.
We do. We are so close to a total theocracy, people. We are going to become a theocracy. We're going to have an American Taliban that is going to be our enforcers, that are going to make sure all of us adhere to these insane Southern Baptist Convention rules and regulations.
Yeah.
And aim them directly because they are the major force, even the minor in this country.
I just think I saw on Ansgar tweet earlier today about it said that if Texas decides to secede, it should be renamed Magistan.
Yeah, I saw that.
I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, that's good.
Texas isn't going to
no. Well, the Republicans wouldn't want that for a start because that's an awful lot of electoral college votes that they can normally count on.
Well, not only that, but every weather disaster that comes along, Texas is begging for federal monies.
Yeah.
So they're not going to give that up either.
Well, I think that's the biggest one. Is the Republicans would not let Texas go because they know without those electoral votes, they won't win a presidential election for decades.
No,
try forever.
Well, we can let go of Texas then. They can secede. Go ahead. Go.
I think we should let them go. They become part of Mexico, like they originally were.
Yeah,
well, that was the joke. There was some guy from Mexico. I don't know if he was a politician or something, but when Donald Trump was on about this blooming border wall thing a few years ago and how he was going to get Mexico, that Mexico was going to pay for it and blah, blah, blah. And so, I'm pretty sure it's a Mexican politician said, we will gladly pay for a border wall between the United States and Mexico if we can have it along the pre-1848 borders, which I thought was quite a funny response.
I like that. I didn't hear that before.
Oh, yeah. And I would endorse that proposal. It means that they get Texas, Arizona, Nevada, and about a third of California.
Most of California, yeah.
Well, they get Los Angeles in the deal.
No big loss.
Now, okay, since you said that, I have to take a counter to that because that's how I am. I saw online today a liberal from Texas saying, all you people are being so glib about Texas should be allowed to secede because they're just this dyed in the wool piece of junk red state. He says, there's about 29 million of us blue people here in Texas that have been working as hard as we possibly can to flip this state blue, and you're completely discounting us when you say that, and ignoring the work that we're doing, ignoring the goal that they have, and whether or not they have any value at that.
Well,
how about we just do a trade?
The problem really across the whole U.S. is that in general, the big cities tend to be blue and the rural counties tend to be red. And the only reason that the South tends to be red is the South doesn't have as many large cities. But you really can't even break it by state so much. You really have to look at it county by county.
Yeah, because theoretically, Texas could go blue. With Dallas, Houston, San Antonio.
Texas is the same as most other states.
Yeah. I mean, Austin is like for years has had this reputation as being a bit of a liberal oasis in the middle of this red state. You know, Austin's always kind of had that reputation.
Yeah.
I don't know how true it actually is, but
Texas seems to fall short of flipping blue by about 1.3 million votes, roughly, give or take.
Yeah.
Texas is so heavily gerrymandered. I don't see it ever going blue, unless the Democrats, the blue people, decide to come out in strength of about maybe 85% voting.
So interestingly, Florida also sorry about that. Florida tends to also fall into about that same demographic of about 1 million votes.
Yep.
Sorry, didn't mean to jump over you there, Jenny.
Well, and the real problem actually is that Republicans will get out and vote no matter what, no matter the weather, no matter what's going on, they will show up and vote. Democrats, on the other hand, you know, unless they've got a candidate they're really excited about, half of them just don't bother to vote.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how Trump got elected, that Trump only had like 35% of the vote. But if you can get 35% of the vote, as long as the turnout is less than 70%, you win.
I mean, it's a sad. I think it's a sad thing with a lot of. Britain's got its own issues in a certain way with like voter turnouts and so on. I mean, like voter turnouts for local elections are really poor in Britain. You know, you might get 20 or 30% turnout for local elections, but you will have a big turnout for a by-election or a parliament, you know, or a parliamentary general election. Which, but still, it's, you know, it's a little bit.
In the U.S., even for a presidential election, we usually don't get, you know, much above a 50% turnout.
Yeah, I mean, I think we had a strong turnout for. We've had like several referendums in Britain over the national Well, there was 2 national referendums. There's one on alternative voting, which is to adopt a similar sort of parliamentary sort of style of voting to what Australia has. That fell by the wayside, and I think it actually that could have been very good, but I think the proponents of it didn't explain it very well. And
hello. Turn the robot again a little bit.
Hey, Andrew. No, actually, I think we picked up a bit of an echo. Andrew, if you've got a tab open to the YouTube, you need to mute that.
I was going to say I could hear myself echoing.
Sorry.
That's okay. You know, everybody was new to this at some point.
Well, the vote.
You've taken my streaming virginity, so.
Welcome.
Oh, nice to meet you.
Is it still echoing?
No, I think it sounds better now.
There is still an echo.
Yeah, basically, if you've got the YouTube stream running in the background, just turn it off.
Do you have earplugs or a headset?
I've got it. I haven't got the YouTube stream on an app. I've got earphones in, so I don't know what's wrong.
Okay, are you doing it off your phone or?
Yeah, I'm doing it off my phone.
Oh, okay. Well, that's StreamYards has more trouble with mobile devices.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
Well,
on
as
my
long
phone
as you keep yourself, as long as you remember to mute yourself when you're not talking, we should be okay.
Cool.
I don't really find it too much of a surprise that we have low voter turnout, considering that the Democrats and Republicans have been disenfranchising the voters for decades with either inaction or bad action.
Well, I think you could, if you were to look at numbers, and this is a bit of a presumption for me. I'm going on my memory of trends that I didn't honestly study back then. So I'm admitting possible complete incorrectness here. I think you'll find that the frequency of people not voting started to go downhill seriously with Reagan. The whole push of their candidacy was that the government is basically useless, and it shouldn't even be around at all. And with that attitude, people accepted it and took it on, and started saying to themselves, "Yeah, well, it's useless. Why should I even vote? It doesn't matter."
I think it started with Watergate and people seeing the level of corruption involved there, but yeah, it certainly accelerated a lot with Reagan. But unfortunately, right now, we need to reverse that immediately, because the only thing that is going to allow the Democrats to keep any level of control after the election coming up this year is going to be basically if Democrats get out there and vote in record numbers.
I can't believe that there are still people who look at this election and say, well, there's no difference between the parties. It's like, how can you make such an absolutely insanely stupid statement like that? How can you really believe that that's true when you look at what is going on and the fascism that is developing rapidly from the right? It's just amazing to me.
I think they have unrealistic expectations of politics and politicians.
Well, of course, they're not the same. One has to play the good cop and the other has to play the bad cop.
Yeah, I think I agree with the expectations comment that people do. They have inappropriate expectations of lots of things. Teachers, medicine, the weatherman. People are just so. I'm sorry, are so ignorant that they really think that everything's so magical, and it's just not, folks. It's just not.
Looks like looking at wiki here, the voter turnout statistics, even going back to 1932, still shows a pretty consistent around 50%.
Really? Okay.
Oh, it does go back that far, huh?
Well, it's a little bit questionable for some of it, I imagine, but.
Well, I had thought for presidential elections that tended to fall off after Nixon.
Looks like it jumps up to around 60% in
and part
1952.
Part of the reason with Democrats being so disenfranchised
when it went
now,
up quite high this last.
And it dropped. Oh, and it dropped back down to 55% with Nixon.
Yeah, well, part of what the Democrats being so
I thought
disenfranchised,
last
I
one
think what really fueled
went
what
up
Jenny
quite
was
high,
saying.
though, didn't it?
Wait,
yeah,
Jeff?
the last one was around 62%, 66%, depending on how you look at it.
I think what led to people saying that there's no difference between the parties is just the way that things have shifted, that, we don't have a left party anymore. That where the Democrats are today is really right of where the Republicans were in the 70s.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Maybe
Right would
80s.
almost be a bleeding heart by today's standards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember which election it was that where it was. I can't remember. It's like either the 1910s or the 1920s, and like the socialists got something like 20% of the vote in the United States. Like Debs and so on. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like back in the late 70s or early 80s. Ohio actually had elected a senator from the Socialist Party.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Well, even Obama said himself he'd be a Republican in like the 80s or something along those lines.
Yeah. Well, Biden would definitely be a classic Republican. And I think that's the problem that people see now is that
Yeah.
we don't have a party that is helping the people. We don't have a party for workers' rights. That both parties are still supporting the corporations.
Go Bernie
See,
Sanders.
we had we had a similar thing, like, because we've had a similar thing, because like the Labour Party is still supposedly our left party, but they shifted so far to the right under Tony Blair. And I'd say actually possibly they started that process way before Blair. Blair was the end result of it. But there was this sort of shift a bit back leftwards with Jeremy Corbyn, who was probably our equivalent to Sanders. Actually, no, Corbyn is to the left of Bernie Sanders by a long way, actually. But unfortunately, he was first of all cut down. He was cut off from behind by his own MPs.
Hey, Ox, hey.
And then got absolutely blasted by the press or whatever when it so they made sure that he didn't win the last general election, because we had a general election in 2017. Corbyn almost unseated the Conservative government, and they had to form a coalition, like an agreement with the Democratic Unionists, who are sort of a party on the right in Northern Ireland, just to get just so the Conservatives could get things through. But unfortunately, it was like, and I will say Corbyn made some mistakes as well. I'm not saying he was perfect, but he was seriously cut off from behind by his own by a savage media campaign and his own members of parliament.
Well, we have Ox with us, so it's good to see you
Oh,
again.
good.
After your message, I didn't expect we'd be seeing you around.
Glad to see you here.
I don't get the chat, so I haven't seen that. Nice, very nice to see you, Ox.
Yeah, good to see you, Ox.
And the trusty ape. So, Skits, what's been going on with you?
You're muted, dude.
Yep, we can't hear you.
Apparently, I just need to unmute. And
There, you're better.
I've been keeping busy. Family, work. Spent the last couple days with the kiddo. Even though he was just pretty much playing on the laptop, and me just being in the local vicinity thereof. But it's been good. Hot as all get out here. Trying to stay cool.
Yeah, same here. We hit 100 twice this week. So we're supposed to get some rain on Saturday. That'll cool things down for us.
Oh, good. Yeah,
we've had that too down here. It's been nasty. I was looking at a weather map that includes all of North America, and this band of heat extends all the way up to the Arctic Circle.
Yeah, I saw that, but
geez.
it pretty much covers most of Canada.
Now, granted, it's not 100 degrees at the Arctic Circle, but it's up in the 70s.
Yeah, it's
that's
still
ridiculous.
20 degrees above their normal temperatures.
I've been getting a lot of rain lately, so that's probably cooling things down here.
God,
yeah,
we could use some here.
We're supposed to be in the 90s through Friday. Saturday, the rain's supposed to bring it down to around 60, and then it's going to slowly creep up again for the rest of the week.
Yeah,
which probably means Monday and Tuesday will be, oppressively humid from everything melting, everything evaporating off.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, 85, 90 is pretty normal for my area around this time of year.
Supposed to be up to 105 here this weekend.
Okay, we're used to getting the 90s and even a couple of days over 100 here, but it usually doesn't happen until the last week of July. So it's like all of our stuff has been moved up a month ahead of when it should be.
But climate change is a hoax.
Yep. Well, we definitely are having shorter winters and longer summers here.
For real.
I'll swap you. It's winter here.
Yeah, we have a big reservoir here that typically people use, swim, fish, and hunt and all that jazz on it. And like I several years ago I had a boat, and I would go hunting out of the boat, and we'd back the trailer up, and I look at it there, and I look at it now, the same exact place, and the dock is just extending and extending and extending, and like there's no water. Our lakes are gone. Like, what are we gonna do? Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, the old boat landings are completely exposed. They're not even wet anymore.
Could you tell us what reservoir that is?
It's the oh god, what is it called? It's the Thermalito Afterbay, and here off of the Feather River in Butte.
Yeah. Well, that's where I was living in Upper Michigan. There, the only industry they have left is tourism. And that's pretty much all the work I had there was maintaining the houses that sit empty for 50 weeks out of the year, because they're all the lakefront homes that people just came up to from Chicago and Milwaukee for a couple of weeks.
Well, that's not why there's a water problem. There's a water problem because it's overuse from whatever reservoirs we've created. The water table is dropped because of how much we've used. It's global.
Yeah, the expanding cities are using up a lot more fresh water.
Yeah, and we're irrigating the desert and golf courses in Los Angeles, and
there are just too many people, and we use water too foolishly.
Yeah, like we are the planet. Technically, we can support our population, with water and food if we're smart about it. But we're anything but smart with our resources.
Okay.
That's pretty true.
Porpoise, Upper Michigan does exist. Although it's not connected to the rest of Michigan, it's just like northeastern Wisconsin.
That's right. It does exist. It's part of Wisconsin.
Yeah. The only reason it is part of Michigan is because Michigan lost a war, and literally it was a war. Michigan sent 10,000 troops to try and take Toledo from Ohio.
What?
Yes, this is a historic fact.
This is real.
Michigan sent 10,000 troops to take Toledo.
Much larger than the states we think of today.
Yeah, but in the end, Ohio was given Toledo. So as a consolation prize, Michigan was given the Upper Peninsula because Wisconsin didn't want it.
So Michigan got a participation trophy, essentially.
Yeah, well, and the only thing that they, that was of any value in the Upper Peninsula was there wound up being a lot of iron mining. But yeah, all the mines closed down back in the 80s, and there's been nothing there of any industry since. Literally, the trains do not even go there. They've taken away the railroad tracks.
So it's just a vacant swath of land?
Yeah, but I mean, all across this country, you'll find abandoned railroad tracks all over.
It's not
in Michigan, they have made the decision there's no chance the trains will ever get there, so they have actually taken away the railroad tracks so they could recycle the rails.
The railroad tracks near me have been turned into a bike trail, and the train station that happens to be here was actually the one that in the cartoon Dumbo, the cartoon movie Dumbo. It was actually based on that train station.
Interesting.
Oh, what a time to be bringing up trains.
What's that, Jenny?
Upper Michigan is not an empty swath of land. There's many, 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 many people that live there, and there are many, 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 many settlements and things to do and all that stuff. It does not have a major source of income, a major capitalistic use of the land, and so therefore it's having problems. But the people there have adapted very well and take care of themselves very well. We're not talking about huge poverty cases here. There certainly is poverty up there, but it's not like everybody up there is poverty.
Jenny, I have to argue with that because my grandparents always lived there, so I always went up there as a child. And, that's before moving here, I had got stuck living there for 5 years. And, again, you don't have any major cities. You know, you've got a couple of mid-sized cities, but outside of those cities, the rural areas really don't have anything, because without the trains, they can't even have agriculture there because they've got no way to ship the grain out.
Well, you can't have agriculture up there because the land isn't suitable. It's virtually all sand. That's the biggest lack of agriculture.
Is there anything that's like a potential for tourism or industry?
Well, that's basically what's up there. You know, there is a lot of area that was never developed, so it's basically all tourism based on hunting and fishing.
Okay.
And in the winter, there's massive ski usage.
Oh yeah, there are a couple of good sized ski resorts up there.
Yeah, there's some 1,000-foot hills and stuff like that up there that are really great for skiing. I've been there.
Are large swaths of land are they public land, like government land, or are they all private up there?
I'm sure
Tracts of land.
No.
Actually, a lot of the Upper Peninsula is national forest.
Oh, nice. Okay.
I think most
dragons are not kosher. I need an explanation for that.
Yeah, that deserves an explanation.
Well, I'm sure that there were some Jewish dragons.
Oy.
Of course, the big question is does Australia exist?
No, it doesn't.
Australia exists. It's on the bottom side of the flat Earth disk, and the only way you can get around the edge are the black helicopters, because they're part of every conspiracy.
No. I've had the Australians tell me this. What actually happens is Australia sort of is in charge of like the projection of the moon and so on. So they just move around the flat Earth every so often to keep the conspiracy going.
I'm currently in a studio in Hollywood, and that's why we are in control of the projections, because Hollywood's good at audiovisual technology.
Yeah, Jeff, you can't talk about what really exists, because I know the entire UK ceases to exist every time I power down my computer.
Yeah, pretty much. I actually wish the entire UK would not exist every time I power down my computer, to be honest.
Squeaky chair.
Okay. Yeah, I guess he's got a point. Dragons can't be kosher meat because they're predatory. And basically anything that has the possibility of eating a human cannot be kosher.
Fair enough.
That's actually part of why pigs are not kosher.
Yep.
Are humans not kosher?
Cloven foot and chewing cud and all that.
Well, despite taking communion and the whole body of Christ thing, the Bible has this thing about supposedly being against cannibalism, even though there are several passages that advocate for it.
You're not trying to tell me that there's contradictions in that book, are you, Perp? Seriously?
Say it ain't so.
Hey, Hans. Yeah, and actually the whole thing as far as atheists eating babies doesn't make sense either, because there are two passages in the Bible that, talk about, two passages in the Old Testament that talk about the followers of Allah. One of them actually even talks about boiling her son.
This is the problem. See, that boiling them, there's the problem right there. Boiling babies. Everybody knows barbecue is the best way to go.
I was gonna say a little barbecue sauce. Forget about it.
Barbecue.
I don't think so. Sweet meat is not. It's just not a good thing. It's
Barbecued penis poppers.
I love barbecued pumpkin.
Then you got to go. Do you go like Tennessee style or do you go North Carolina style barbecue? That's a whole argument.
I like Kansas City style.
There you
Aussie
go.
barbecue.
Aussie
I'd
barbecue?
actually love for I'd actually love for like a theist to actually ask you one time what's the best way to cook baby. I'd just love, I'd love to have some fun with that.
I'll make a whole stream about different recipes of cooking babies.
Okay, nerdy? No.
Oh
cannot-
God!
You cannot microwave any kind of raw meat. It will always come out rubbery.
Ugh.
No, you don't. You don't.
I microwave
baby.
hamburgers from time to time. They're not so bad.
No, a microwave is good for heating things up. It does not actually cook things.
That's not true at all.
If you want flavors to blend, you need a bit more of an extended cooking process.
Nope.
You could say it doesn't cook well, but it certainly cook.
The meatloaf I know of a meatloaf recipe that is done in the microwave, and it's the best meatloaf I've had.
Oh yeah, you want to?
My mum did meatloaf in the microwave. Yeah, it comes out okay.
Oh really? Okay, I've never tried meatloaf.
Mage, could you send me that recipe or give me a link where to find it?
That's gonna be hard to find because it's a friend's recipe.
Okay, that's the trick.
Yeah, they went.
You have to wrap it in tin foil for using the microwave.
No, you don't have it in tin foil. It was off of a recipe they had, and then there's like, okay, here's the recipe, and then I changed this and this and this. I'm like, okay, well, this is not the recipe then.
Yeah, right. I think it's like,
well, I
imagine with
the recipe mostly for the technical the conditions for microwaving, and how full power.
I'll say that.
That's that kind of stuff.
I'll say this. Once you've had baby Vindaloo, you can't go back.
Vindaloo.
I don't think I've ever had a proper Vindaloo.
Spicy AF.
I think
that's part of it. I'm not real big on spicy food. It doesn't agree with my system.
Yeah, you want to try a file then? Perhaps that's which is sort of the thing you do as a thing you only do when you've had a serious amount of drink and and think that, hey, we're going to go for the hottest curry the restaurant does. And then I have done it, and I have done that several times, and every time I've regretted it.
I've grown the official hottest pepper in the world.
Is that the Reaper or the?
Yeah, the Carolina Reaper. There may be hotter ones now, but they haven't been officially recorded.
Here you go, Jenny. Ox is a meatloaf recipe for you.
Ketchup. Ugh.
The one I had used a mushroom soup mix.
Now, where do you put the ketchup? You mix it all together, or you put it on top to cook it? Because I hate ketchup on meatloaf.
I think you mix it all together, but if you hate ketchup, you could substitute barbecue sauce.
There you go.
All this talk of food is actually making me hungry. So
seriously, now
I think I would rather use what's that Mexican thing everybody eats now? It starts with a C.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you mean. I do use
enchiladas.
No,
I do use the microwave a lot for potatoes and rice work well in it. Rice is real nice because you can't overcook it because it stops itself.
I got myself a rice cooker. That's been really nice to have.
Oh, nice.
Oh, I've just got a 2-quart plastic pot that's got a ventilated lid, and I find that's perfect for doing the rice in.
Yeah, I'll be making myself my little rice, pasta, and meat mix. It's a very simple recipe.
Yeah, my biggest problem is that, if I'm trying to cook anything that takes like more than 5 minutes, I wind up getting distracted by something else and forgetting about it, and half the time I don't hear the timer.
Yeah, this could be a problem because you have to cook each thing separately and then combine it.
Yep. Well, that's what the microwave works well for, is that, put the rice in there for 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, it shuts itself off. You got to let it sit at least 5 minutes anyway. If it winds up sitting 20, 30 minutes, it doesn't matter. It's just as good.
Yeah, the rice cooker is automatic
Sounds
as
like
well.
rice-a-roni.
Yeah,
Rice cookers are great.
mine's also a steamer too, so I can actually steam a small batch of veggies in there too.
I like bread makers too. Those are fun.
Basically, what I do is you just cook the rice. So it's a cup of rice, it's a cup of pasta. I usually like to use the tricolor pasta just for looks. You cook up the meat with some veggies. Doesn't really matter which veggies I use. I just use whatever I happen to have in hand. I add a little bit of General Tao sauce and a little bit of soy sauce as I mix it all together, and there you have it. Lasts me about a week.
For meatloaf, you actually do want a little extra fat. I find the best thing for meatloaf is if you mix like 1 pound of pork in with 2 pounds of ground beef, because the pork's a bit fattier, so then it doesn't dry out.
Exactly what I do. I do pork sausage, big old.
I always put my meatloaf on a grate to keep it out of the grease in the pan.
Very smart. Very smart.
Yep. Yeah, it's best if you put a rack under it so it's not sitting in the grease.
Yeah, if you're just doing it in like a loaf pan, it's just boiling in its own juices of grease.
Yeah.
I always cook my meatloaf from pre-prepared meals.
And then if you you could do a freeform meatloaf, you could shape it into different things. And a doggy, a kitty,
Triceratops.
Some triceratops, a penis. There's
A penis.
Penis meatloaf.
Penis
Maybe.
loaf. And we're back to the penis loaf.
That'd be great to serve to relatives, eh?
Because it was your suggestion, Skits. The best way to enjoy meatloaf is throw it in the trash and make fried chicken.
I've just decided to microwave myself something after all that cooking talk as well. So it's pretty darn poor on my part, I think.
Meatloaf is about the only way I eat beef. Now that I think about it, I haven't had a steak in. Oh God.
Okay, important bit of etiquette here we need to point out: you do not put the host on the menu. Okay.
My bad.
Yeah, that's generally not regarded as good form.
But delicious.
Iguanodons are much better if you want for the meat.
I think my primary source of meat protein these days is tuna. I have tuna several times a week, but I'm also hoping that when I die, they can turn me into a thermometer. So little mercury isn't out of my plans.
Hey, Sydney. Oh, and Diana. Diane, I threw a link in your group on Twitter if you want to jump in here. See, Skits, now you've given people ideas.
I like that idea. That's fun. Yeah, but how would you cook the purple afterwards?
Well, the purple part's kind of toxic, so it's
but
like
delicious if used in small
amounts
amounts.
around certain organs.
It's sort of one of those defense mechanisms certain animals have to say, "Hey, I don't taste nice here with the bright colors."
Exactly. Yeah, in nature, any animal you see that is brightly colored is saying, "I dare you to eat me."
Or I taste fine, but I want you to think you can't eat me.
Peacock is pretty tasty.
Yeah, well, there are those the mimics like that. Like the monarch butterflies taste, too bitter to birds, but there's another kind of butterfly that mimics their coloring, just so the birds will
how do
leave
they
them
know
alone.
How do they know if a bird thinks something is bitter?
They ask it.
It will spit it out and try not to eat it, throw it up,
Yeah.
that sort of stuff.
Yeah, but
Hey, Diana, how you doing?
Hello.
In a word.
That good then, huh?
Well, you look to be in a
How
good
you
mood
guys?
today.
How's it going, Lavender?
Yeah, that's how it's going.
Well,
Oh man, I is old, I is broken.
Yeah.
as for the question of what dinosaurs taste like, it seems in a 2007 study, the Journal of Science revealed that some protein sequences from a T-Rex fossil closely resemble the protein sequences found in a chicken.
Not
Well, yeah,
surprised.
it
Thunk
makes
it, would
sense
you?
that they would be, they're related to birds. It should be
It did.
similar.
Though I imagine
Birds aren't dinosaurs. Come on, honey.
they'd probably taste more like a steak, sort of like how we get with the larger birds, like an emu and ostrich.
And there'd be drumsticks for everyone.
I've never had emu. I've never had ostrich. Someday.
That's because Australia lost the war to the emus. That's why.
Okay.
Oh, that's right.
True.
The war.
There actually are now farms in Minnesota that are raising emu for the meat.
Yeah, there's a place downtown here in Pittsburgh where I can get emu, but I've never gone there and got it.
Doesn't that mean they would have to have a way to, fertilize the emus so that they lay eggs and have lots of offspring? Wouldn't they need to call a stool and get some emu sperm?
Oh, Jesus. What the heck is going on out there?
Look, emus are very attractive.
So this article,
Tree shedding seeds. There's it's almost like a cottonwood shedding its seeds. Huh.
Oh, where I lived in St. Paul, we had an 80-year-old cottonwood in the backyard. Yeah, and when that thing started dropping, it was like the entire lawn, it looked like it was covered in snow again.
I was going to say, it looked like it had drifts, huh?
Well, it would drift along the curbs in the street.
My allergies.
Oh, my.
They're just thinking about it.
that reminds me, I need to collect these thistle seeds.
Ow, honey.
Gotta love cats.
Bacon-themed restaurant. Okay. Across the street from a Muslim temple. All right, I like it.
Yeah, we're still working on a roasting pan big enough for a sauropod.
I just think of those Flintstones every time.
And
Yeah,
yes, Hans, Australia did have 2 wars against the emus, and the emus still won.
Yeah.
Did we?
Well,
I thought we only had one.
there's only one I know about, but I mean, let's be honest. Every form of wildlife in Australia is trying to kill the inhabitants. So it's I mean, even the imported wildlife. The first camel that was ever in Australia, that was ever introduced into Australia, actually managed to kill its owner with a gun. So
More camels in Australia than are in Arabia.
Where was it?
At least wild ones.
Georgia?
Camels used to be a native species in North America.
Camels actually evolved in North America, and they migrated to Asia and then became extinct in North America.
That's why you got
Horses
things
too, I
like,
think.
this is
Yeah,
why you
they
got
shot
things
each
like
other.
llamas.
Well, horses and camels actually stem from the same branch.
Yeah, but that's why you got things like in South America, llamas or whatever, that are kind of closely, and alpacas, which are fairly closely
Yeah,
related.
llamas and alpacas are the closest thing related to camels.
And I know about this. Because 4 years ago, like today, I was actually walking the Inca Trail in Peru, so saw a lot of wild llamas.
We have lots of llamas around here. It's a big industry. I don't know that they're butchering them, but they certainly are collecting the fur.
So
Well, alpacas especially
alpacas, I imagine.
are
Yeah.
often raised for the wool. Just because they have such an exceptionally soft wool.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
understand. Some good stuff.
I've got some alpaca wool gloves actually that I purchased in Peru because when we started like our walking in control, I had to actually buy some gloves because we were starting really early in the morning and it was like below freezing, and I put on these gloves quite frankly, and so I just purchased some alpaca wool gloves and then like within about 2 hours when the sun come up, as you just basically you just stripped off and were like desperately putting the sunblock on before you got burnt.
Oh my!
No, it doesn't look like horses and camels are all that closely related.
Honey, what are you doing?
I thought they had. I could be off.
I mean, but we talked about Australia. I'll just get it in before the Australian on the panel does. There's the most dangerous form of wildlife in Australia. It's called the drop bear.
Yes, true.
Yeah, it's a subspecies. It's a carnivorous subspecies of the koala. You got to really watch out for.
Got to watch out for them drop bears.
Mm.
And Robert X. The U.S. Army did try to bring in camels, and particularly they tried to use them for the post office through the Southwest. But the workers had such difficulty handling them that they gave up on the idea. That they said the things were vicious and more ornery than mules.
And they spit.
You see the image of the kid with his head in the camel's mouth?
No.
No.
Oh, guys, I'm gonna have to drop off for a bit. I might pop back in later, but I gotta go tend to my food for the evening. So
okay.
I might pop
thanks
back
for coming
in a bit later.
We'll see you around.
Well, yeah, if you're still going by the time I finish, I might pop back in. So.
Yep.
Okay. Bye, Jeffy.
Bye.
Okay. Yeah. Ox. This makes sense. I hadn't really thought about it, but the camel's feet actually have soft pads for walking on the sand. So on rocky ground, they probably don't do so well.
If you want to pull that up, so everybody can see what I was talking about.
Yep. Yeah, camels will eat your children if they're not supervised.
Well, they're carnivorous, of course.
How do you think they survive in the desert? They just eat anything they can find.
Mm-hmm.
Just feed them your children.
Horses will eat baby chicks as well.
They will.
Yes.
Aw, that's cute.
That's adorable.
Pretty much all herbivores have been found to eat animals opportunistically, like cows as well.
Yeah, well, and particularly what they find with a lot of them is they're doing it to chew on the bones. That most of them do it when they're having calcium deficiencies.
That makes sense. Especially eggs and things like that, with all that extra calcium there.
So just give them.
Although I haven't seen many camels lay eggs.
Okay, so does eating children make camels atheists?
Yes.
And yes, chickens. You don't even have to do much with chickens. If one bird in the flock starts bleeding, the others will peck it to death and eat it.
Yeah. Chickens are cannibalistic.
Vicious.
Yeah, my sister keeps about a dozen chickens for eggs, and she actually had that problem.
Don't they
one of them
promote
got wounded, and the other ones tried to eat it.
Don't they promote cannibalism in the Bible?
Yep. Yeah, there's a couple passages in the Bible that promote cannibalism. That's why I don't see why atheists are the ones who got nailed for eating babies, because, the Bible says that, yeah, under the right circumstances, you should.
I'm pretty sure it was Jesus that got nailed.
Yeah, huh? There are passages in the Christian Bible that support just about anything you want. Just go looking.
Yeah, it's too contradictory, too many different ideas and stuff in it.
Yeah, huh?
Well, okay, actually, that's the best thing about cannibalism is it solves two problems at once. It deals with famine and overpopulation at the same time.
Well, then that's what India and China should do. Eh?
Yeah, but those nasty prions sneak in there,
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
Oh, you know what was on TV this weekend? Soylent Green.
Oh, I missed that film.
Delicious.
Oh, damn. What a great, terrible movie that was.
Yeah, I had to send an article to my sister because it turns out now that the Silicon Valley elite, the latest trend to show, that you're up there, is now keeping your own chickens. And it's like
What?
how is this become a status symbol of the rich? This was always something that the poor people who couldn't afford food did.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same with lobsters, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Lobsters had been considered such a poor man's thing that
Well, Maine fed from the prisoners, right?
Massachusetts actually had to pass a law in the 1800s that they were not allowed to serve the prisoners lobster more than 4 times a week.
Okay, Massachusetts. Okay.
In fact, keeping backyard chickens started as a wartime effort. I think in World War I.
Yep.
What was that?
Keeping backyard chickens was a wartime effort in
sorry, I
World War
thought you said battery chickens.
Yeah.
My apologies.
Yeah,
it
was
you
promoted
shove a
along
battery
with
up there
victory
and
garden idea.
Yeah, backyard chickens makes more sense.
I think it's a good idea. I mean, having chickens has definitely been useful for me.
If Jesus does return, his first word should be, "You crossed the wrong guy."
Dio Korostu.
I don't get this. My son got objective moral value in his Happy Meal.
Yeah, I don't get that either.
Across?
Sorry about that.
But at least points for the Transformers reference. So. Well, see, actually, McDonald's, when you think you're ordering chicken, what they do is they put growth hormones in the oil for the French fries. Because then at night after the restaurants are closed, then they just go out in the parking lot and harvest the seagulls.
Yeah, okay.
Efficient.
Well, I got no complaints about them at chicken. They're pretty good.
Reminded me of that Buffy episode where she worked in the place where they made non-meat meat burgers.
I remember that episode.
Yeah, Sinister Porpoise, work on making Stranger in a Strange Land in a movie has been going on for 50 years, and the project just never quite gets there. I don't know what it is, well, there are definitely things about that book that I can understand. Stop a lot of people, especially Christians, aren't going to like the religious overtones of it.
I'd hate to think what they would do to the book with modern day writing.
Why?
Well, if they had to tone it down so it didn't offend Christians, they'll completely lose the story.
Yeah. Deuteronomy 28. Because of the suffering your enemy will inflict on you during the siege, You will eat the fruit of the womb, the flesh of your sons, the daughters of the Lord your God has given you.
Yep. I knew it was
And
in there
fries.
somewhere. I just don't know chapter and verse.
Chickies. Oh, God, the scummer left. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, he was saying he's got to go and get his dinner, so.
Yeah, my computer
Yeah,
locked up randomly.
Those silly UK people who just, do everything 6 hours too early.
Gee, seriously.
We do everything in the future down here.
Silly future people.
Yeah, Axe, when I was living in New York, there was a comment saying that there were no stray cats in Savoy. That was the suburb that was predominantly Asian.
Interesting. Terrible, but
You have to have a long tongue for that.
Hey, Jenny,
I'm back.
your connection go flaky?
Yes, StreamYards is doing its mobile thing again. So.
Welcome back.
All right, so where did we leave off? Last thing I heard was cooking babies in a boiling bag. What was it?
No,
I think we
boiling
decided
baby
deep
in a
frying
cooking
was
bag.
better.
Isn't this the second time today we've gotten onto cooking babies?
Delicious.
And what
Okay,
does that say?
I just want to point out that for me, eating humans is not cannibalism.
Wait, what about frying them?
Deep fried all the way.
I mean, you can fry everything, so
7 minutes a pound? Forget about it.
Add garlic and bacon. That's all you need.
I don't know. Nothing like classic spit roast.
Mm. Little rotisserie, baby.
that's whole new meaning to baby battered.
Baby back ribs.
Oh, baby back ribs. I had a friend back in Milwaukee long time ago, 30, almost 40 years now. He had a meat shop. One of the few, meat only shops in town, and was in this nice little, tiny building. You know how things used to be and stuff. It was real old town, old fashioned kind of stuff. And he had his little sign outside,
Horses.
change the letters to say this or that is on sale. And one week he had a special on baby back ribs. And that week his wife also happened to have a baby.
Oh no.
And so he does this picture with his indoor, handouts and stuff where you could clearly see baby back ribs. And then he had his baby on the chopping block.
Oh my god.
Holding with a knife.
That is fantastic.
It was.
I cannot see that as being a smart business move, though.
No. It wasn't for business. It was for private use. But it was just outrageously funny.
Would have got my business. That's great. I enjoy a corporate or a business with a sense of humor.
Yeah, well, they're not in business any longer. So.
Oh. Apparently, I'm the only one that enjoys business with a sense of humor.
No, that had nothing to do with it.
Okay.
Oh.
Well, those ice cream cones aren't going to lick themselves.
Yes, just don't insert them up your vagina.
No, popsicles. Use popsicles for that, not ice cream.
Oh my.
Holy wall of text.
Yeah, I'm dumbfounded, and it's too bad that Jeff is gone here, but I wanted to ask about that. That I've seen what looked like actual government notices warning women not to do that, and it's like, is this something that you actually have to publicize?
Wait, what?
Well, they put a tag on irons that say "Do not iron clothes while you're wearing them." So apparently they do.
Yeah, well,
Wow.
yeah. It's because Americans will sue over anything they can find that we've had to wind up with these ridiculous warning labels on everything.
Yeah, we're so happy. Although some of the more, infamous, quote, lawsuits that, were made fun of so often, like the McDonald's lady, like those were actually pretty horrendous and severe incidents that just kind of got laughed off by the public.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, the McDonald's
part-
one, most people don't know the real story about
Exactly.
that. But yeah, the restaurant had been warned on at least 3 previous occasions to turn down the temperature.
Yeah. Those were ridiculously hot.
And the amount of money that people talked about, it just kept increasing as the rumor filtered through the population. She got nothing close. She barely got her medical expenses paid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other problem with all these lawsuits, is that the only people who really get money off of them are the lawyers.
Yeah.
That most of the people, even the ones you hear that get these settlements from corporations, the lawyers take at least half of whatever they get.
No, the lawyers are regulated to not be allowed to take more than 30%.
Okay, is it 30%? I'm sorry there.
It wasn't in my state.
Yeah, it's still a good chunk.
Well, yeah, it is, but they put a lot of damn work in for a lawsuit.
Absolutely.
Not like just writing a complaint to the court and waiting for the trial to show up. There's lots of homework. That's why a lot of small lawyers are not able to take on these big lawsuits that they could potentially make a lot of money from, because they don't have the personnel and the capital to be able to afford people to put together the case.
Usually, a personal injury lawyer will take 1/3 of your final settlement offer as compensation for their work. How much will my attorney make off my settlement?
Yeah, that's why you get these guys who advertise on TV for mesothelioma or this or that other disease of the day, because all the paperwork and research for the case has been done already, and it's all just boilerplate stuff. So they are really just calling people in to pay them 30% and get a little for yourself. It's really a great con job.
Yeah, it does require, because courts mostly go by precedent. So the lawyers do have to spend a lot of time researching previous cases to see if they can find something similar that was decided before.
As well as companies will just dump heaps of documents on disclosure so that they
that they
they're
have thousands
overwhelmed.
and thousands of pages that they have to read through to find what's relevant. Yeah, Porpoise, this is actually one of my dreams, is that if I had the money, I would like to get an RV and just drive across North America visiting all the museums.
Sounds
That
cool.
would be cool. That'd be real fun.
There's a whole culture of people who have taken their retirement and bought an RV and live in the RV and just travel around.
Yep.
I don't know how well they're doing
and
today.
there's a lot of YouTube
So, yeah.
videos on that about, living in an RV or just living in a van. There's
Makes
quite
sense.
a few channels that just go on that.
Yeah, my grandpa and grandma did that. They had this big map where they would just circumnavigate the country, hitting up all the the RV places, and every year just keeping with the weather.
Yeah, lawyers are necessary, to keep the system. It's one of the checks and balances of the system, because the average person can't know enough about all the laws we have. You have to have some people who are experts on it.
Yep. Everybody bitches about lawyers until you need one.
Well, and
Yeah.
okay, they say ignorance of the law is no excuse, but even the best lawyers cannot tell you how many laws we have in this country.
Everyone probably breaks several laws a day and they don't even know it.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
And lawsuits are mostly not about law; they're about precedents.
Like, how was I supposed to know I wasn't supposed to bury the body after I,
Oh, really?
My bad.
It's desecration of a corpse, apparently. So,
Really?
Really? Weren't there? I thought like some South American tribes where that was their normal burial practice, in which case you could claim it was a religious rite.
we don't have those sorts of stuff in Australia, I'm pretty sure.
Ah, okay.
Uh,
I don't know anything about what the Aborigines did with their dead down there.
We very successfully genocided our Aborigines, unfortunately.
Yeah. I think you're the only country that was more successful with that than the US.
Yeah, it's what white people
That's the
do.
impression I get.
And maybe that's not fair to say either, because you think back to history, and you can think of the Persian Empire, Genghis Khan and Empire. They were all about moving in and taking over and killing whatever they had to kill to do it. So, white people are certainly bad in what we did to Native Americans, but humans tend to do that kind of thing. It's wrong as fuck, but it's what humans
I think
do.
the difference was the technology. In the old days, you just didn't have the technology to be able to wipe out people as efficiently.
Yeah, you
I
mostly,
think you're right on
mostly
that.
overtook them. There was a critical mass that you could take out their warriors, and the rest are going to just happen. I hear an echo.
Sorry, that's me. Actually, I think I was wrong. It wouldn't have been the technology. It was the diseases that did most of the killing. Because Australian Aborigines and Indigenous Americans were isolated from Europe, whereas the Asians and the Africans weren't so isolated from them, and so the diseases weren't that much of an effect.
I know in the US a lot of it was smallpox wiped out entire tribes.
I'll be right back.
Same here.
The Europeans who became Americans wiped out the Native American population. There is no other way to explain it. Yes, there was some disease issues, but it was mostly murderous Europeans who were happy to kill people to take their land. Yeah,
I read that actually the diseases went ahead of the Europeans into the land. Like, as soon as they made contact, the diseases spread like wildfire. And then what happened was that the Europeans came across seemingly pretty empty land when actually most of the Native Americans had died of chicken pox that had and whatever that had spread.
Yeah. There was a lot of that. There was, just a lot of tribes that died out before they did anything intentional to them.
I would doubt chickenpox. Smallpox, yes. But
sorry,
yeah,
smallpox.
They learned about
brain fart.
They learned about immunization for smallpox in the late 1700s. They could have done that for the Indians.
Well, they purposefully gave them infected blankets and whatnot anyway. So
yeah, that was one of the tactics used by the U.S. Cavalry. Put them on reservations and give them blankets that were previously used by smallpox patients.
Something similar happened here.
And I would bet it's going on in Australia too. The government here is still abusing Native Americans. and still lying and cheating and breaking treaties and contracts. It makes me so mad.
We've never had treaties, and that's a big problem. That's a current discussion in Australia about having a treaty or having Aboriginals actually mentioned in the Constitution, because here was terra nullius, which meant there was an empty land. Well, that's what the Europeans decided. Aboriginals were not counted in the census because they were regarded as wildlife into the 20th century here.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it is just something that humans have always done. I mean, if you read the Bible, so much of the Old Testament is about that. It's about, let's go and wipe out the neighboring tribe. Let's go and wipe out the city of the next state.
Yeah, when I started reading the Bible more critically to figure out if there was a God or not, I was just absolutely fucking disgusted at all the genocide that was portrayed as good in it.
Yeah.
I'll be right back, folks.
Yeah. Actually, biowarfare does go back to medieval times, when they would throw the dead bodies, sometimes loading them into catapults to throw them into fortifications to try and start the plague inside the fortified cities.
Yeah.
That was more of a psychological tactic.
I don't know how effective it was, but they certainly were trying it. Ah, what a cheerful subject. Oh. Ow.
Talking about disease has killed the conversation.
Yeah.
Guess it wasn't that infectious.
But your sense of humor is.
So we ran out of stuff to talk about here already?
Maybe we should just wind it up here. Oh, hey, Spooky. Okay, so, do you want to clog landfills or kill trees?
Depends on what it is. They've switched in Australia to using wood instead of plastic for things like spoons and straws. And I hate it because they haven't sealed the wood, so it just feels wrong in the mouth.
I didn't know about them switching to wood.
Well, they use paper for the straws, but for like the dessert spoons, they use they're made out of wood.
I always hated when you buy those little ice cream cups with a wooden spoon attached to the top. I hated the wooden spoon. It was just ugh.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
Well, and the problem that people aren't addressing is that plastics are not really the problem in themselves. Plastics are a byproduct of refining petroleum. So if we stopped using plastics altogether, the petroleum refiners would just have a whole mess of extra toxic waste that they have to dump somewhere. So not using plastics is not really a solution unless it is coupled with reducing the amount of petroleum we use.
The problem with the plastics is that it doesn't chemically biodegrade, isn't it?
Yeah. But like I said, we would have the same problem with the byproduct from the petroleum. It's just this gooey sludge that they have left over when they strip all the useful fuels out of the crude oil.
Plastic does not deteriorate. Well, no, I don't want to say it that way. What plastic does is it breaks itself down into nanoparticles, and the nanoparticles get into everything they come near, including our bloodstreams and our lungs and animals just as well. but they never break down into base nutrients like food
Yeah.
product or something organic.
Yeah, they break down into microscopic particles, but those wind up getting ingested by all sorts of animals, and it works its way all the way up to the food chain until it's in the stuff that we're eating.
Do straws cause a particularly bad impact in the environment compared to other forms of plastic, or?
You mean, is there one plastic that is most problematic?
No, I mean like in the form it's in, or straws. Straws in straw form are worse than, say, other plastics that find their way into oceans and stuff.
The reason
I
for
think
the straw issues are because of what it does physically to the wildlife. They've had sea turtles that get them stuck up their nose, and how they found whales with huge reservoirs of plastic in their gut.
No, that's what I was wondering, if they cause a greater amount of damage to the environment compared to other things.
I think it's more the form of the plastic, not the plastic itself.
Well, I think the straws get all the publicity because of the volume of them that get used and disposed of every day.
Yeah,
and that's the other issue is they talk about single-use plastics, and we can reduce that a lot by getting rid of the single-use concept. There is, most things made out of plastic could be reused multiple times at least to at least reduce the number of them we need to produce.
In fact, I have a plastic straw I've been using for like past 2 years and still perfectly good.
Yep. I have the same set of what were supposed to be disposable cups and straws that, I've got like 5 of them, because some of them are dirty. But that same set of 5 I've been using for more than 5 years.
But what will we buy to prop up the economy if we don't keep consuming?
Oh, how about glass and recycling glass?
Yeah, Spooky, they have come up with some bacteria that can eat plastic.
Fungus too, I think.
Unfortunately, again, there's a problem with that people don't think about, that if those are released into the wild, they're not going to just eat the garbage. They're going to eat the plastic that is still in use. And, on an ocean-going ship, how many plastic parts are there? How many seals are there in things that are plastic?
Below the water line? None.
Yeah. So if the bacteria starts eating all that crap, then they're just going to have to come up with another bacteria-resistant material. So they're going to have to come up with something else that nothing in nature can eat.
Well, but if you want to talk seriously about this, a seal that would be used for like a propeller shaft or for the shaft of the rudders and stuff, those seals need to be replaced periodically anyways.
I was kind of curious about the whole straw thing, because by volume, those straws actually make a fairly small percentage of what gets of the plastics that get into the oceans.
Yeah.
But it's the specific shape of them that's problematic.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Back in the early days of binding together a 6-pack, the plastic rings that were used, people would just throw away whole, and they would get stuck on the necks of things and choke them to death.
Yeah. Well, it's whatever pictures get publicized that people focus on.
That's how Mr. Burns came up with his fishing net.
Well, and it's lots of things. We just, as long as people litter, it's a problem, and people are just too lazy and self-centered to not litter.
Well, and with the pandemic, another problem that came up with that was, the disposable masks that people, were like just throwing them away in the parking lots as they left stores. And I personally one day saw a bird that had the cord from one of the masks wrapped around its leg. And it could still hop around well enough that I wasn't able to catch it to help it, but how long is that bird going to last before something snags on the other end of that and it can't get away from a predator?
Or
I've
gets
wondered what
and ends up hanging upside down until it dies.
the effect on society and the economy would be if there was like a tax on anything that is new produced. Like if something's made of recycled materials, then the percentage of that recycled materials is not taxed. But if it's made from fresh stuff, if it was taxed, at least for certain plastic or whatever,
They do that.
what effect that would have.
They do that. There's a deposit that's paid when you buy certain products, soda, usually soda and beverage products. The bottle is you have to pay a deposit on so that you'll bring it back. It's a nickel or 10 cents. And
Yeah, that's only in certain states.
that's right. That's right. But it is done.
Yeah.
It can be done more.
Yeah,
Yeah, unfortunately, in the U.S., a lot of recycling is just kind of a feel-good thing, and most of the material, especially the plastics, rarely
just
gets
export to
recycled.
China.
Yeah, it either gets exported or it just gets dumped in trash incinerators.
Well, yeah, now because China's blocked it off, haven't they?
Well, even before that, just because the cost of shipping it wasn't worth it. It's so bulky and lightweight that the price per ton that they got wasn't worth it. So most recycling in the U.S., they'll extract the metals, the steel and aluminum they can make a profit on, and the rest of it usually gets dumped in a disposal site or an incinerator.
I've been thinking about collecting
Aluminum, however, is the champion of recycling. 70% of the aluminum ever manufactured is still in use.
Well, it's the most recyclable material.
Yeah, it's the easiest to recycle. It's the most profitable.
No,
because it takes so much energy to
they can
smelt.
melt it down and they can make new cans out of it very easily. So they can keep
it's kind of
recycling it into the same product.
It's kind of ironic because aluminum is one of the most common elements in the ground anywhere.
Yeah,
it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Just very hard to get out of the oxides and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the reason why it wasn't used sooner. We didn't really know how to access it.
That's a valid point. The bacteria that eat plastics, what do they produce? What's their waste product?
Could be just carbon dioxide and water.
I heard of a research experiment. I don't know exactly what to claim. It was one of those things that you see the headline and maybe a couple of paragraphs about, and that's all you ever see about it. Where they were talking about the ability to take certain plastics under certain conditions of microwaving and converting them back to their original oil.
That sounds right.
Just by cooking them for a period of time under, I imagine frequency matters and temperature matters and things like that, but that it's possible.
Well, it sounds like a good idea. The other problem with some of these ideas, though, is, the amount of energy that they would take to do it.
Yeah, probably just uneconomical.
Well, and do you produce, more carbon and, more pollution for the energy to be produced than you're saving by recycling the material?
Depends whether you got a coal-powered power station or not.
Yeah, well, it depends how the energy is produced. Unfortunately, in the U.S., most of the energy is still coal or natural gas.
Same here, I think.
Well, that's because those wind generators cause cancer.
Well, they don't cause cancer, but they do cause their own waste problems. Just again, what it takes to, build the components for a wind generator and then after its lifespan of 7 to 10 years, those materials can't be recycled.
Can't or too uneconomical?
Well, they're mostly like fiberglass and similar materials.
Yeah, it's
So there really
difficult.
isn't anything they can do with them.
It is really difficult to try and recycle GRPs or FRPs.
What are GRPs?
Right.
Jeff, what are GRPs?
Glass reinforced plastics, or
okay.
FRPs, or fiber reinforced plastics.
Oh, the plastic eating bacteria. You break things down eventually down to carbon dioxide.
Essentially like carbon fiber, or a fiberglass, basically, to put it in layman's terms. But
yeah.
Degrades the MHET produced by the PETAs used into ethylene glycol and terephthalic acid. Once formed, these two compounds can be further biodegraded into carbon dioxide.
Isn't ethylene glycol a delicious brief drink?
Well, it is sweet.
I mean, you don't get to drink it for long, but...
Well, that's true. It is toxic.
Yeah, cars like to drink it.
But that pretty green and orange color that they make it is, so nice.
Just have it instead of Powerades or Gatorades.
That's what Gatorade is, isn't it? I've always identified Gatorade, that it doesn't have any flavors that you can really talk about. So it's always identified by which color of car fluid it resembles. You've got transmission fluid, windshield wiper fluid, coolant.
I've tried Gatorade before. I mean, they've had one of the flavor. I'm trying to remember which flavor it was, but I think it might have been like raspberry. It was a blue thing or so. It was pretty sickly tasting drink. I mean, we've got, it's not very widely sold over here, Gatorade. So.
Well, that's because you have no sports over there.
No, so we've got our own we've got our own version called Lucasade, which tastes a lot better.
Oh, we drank Lucasade here when I was a kid. Yeah, it tastes very strange.
Yeah, but the original Lucasade tastes very strange. But some of the flavored things like the orange flavored ones are very nice. But yeah, it's much better than fucking Gatorade.
Am I remembering right that it's fizzy?
No.
Depends on which variety you're getting, because they've got one that's a still one, and you've got one that is fizzy. Yeah.
I haven't seen a carbonated Gatorade.
No, I've never seen that either.
No, I've never seen carbonated Gatorade, but Lucasade, I remember drinking as a kid, was fizzy.
But Brondo has what plants crave.
Yeah.
But I don't drink energy drinks at all now anyway, so I stay away from them. I mean, some of the ones you got now, it's just like they should just call it canned diabetes now.
The most efficient diabetes.
Yeah.
Bottled water makes me crazy.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, bottled water, should only be used in specific circumstances. Anyone who has access to tap water should not be buying bottled water.
Well, do you get the brand of bottled water called Evian in the United States?
Naive?
Yeah, they sell it here.
Evian, okay. You know what that says backwards, don't you?
Naive.
Exactly. That's bottled water explained in one. That's bottled water explained for you.
I do keep
I
bottled water around. I do keep
Yep.
bottled water around, but that's for emergency hurricane supplies.
Yep.
I mean,
Knox,
I,
I'm with you. Mostly, I hot brew the tea. I make it myself. So I'm usually drinking
Well,
sweet tea.
I mean, there was a big thing because when bottled water kind of became a thing in the UK, it was kind of very much sold on the whole basis of it was actual spring water, as opposed, when Coca-Cola launched
Aquafina.
Dasani, I think it was called, a bottled water.
That's
And then
it.
we found,
I've seen a
and
video on it.
yeah, and then they found out it was actually basically tap water that they were just putting through a filter.
Yeah,
It was a bit of a scandal. And the ironic thing was there was a famous British sitcom called Only Fools and Horses, where the guy, one of the episodes, the guy ran a con where he was basically using tap water to get
No way.
bottling it as natural spring water sort of thing. And then it turns out Coca-Cola actually did the same thing in real life. It was a bit of a scandal over here.
Yeah, if you look on the bottled water and it says municipal supply source, that's basically tap water.
Yeah.
But to bottle water, when you're bottling water, you're not just taking it out of the tap and putting it into a bottle. You're running it through various filtrations. You're running it through various UV light possibilities to use it. And ultimately, once they've done extracting all the nasties from it, they have to add minerals to it, or you won't like how it tastes. Did you know that?
Well, yeah. If you've ever tried to drink distilled water, it has no minerals in it.
Distilled water will kill you.
Yeah.
Well, too much of it.
Yeah.
At school, we distilled some water and drank it, and we loved it.
Yeah, Marky, I can't handle any of the diet stuff, any of the artificial sweeteners.
But
they just all taste weird to me.
I mean, we get that blooming Evian stuff a lot in the UK, but the biggest ones tend to be like Buxton and Highland Spring, which are sort of supposedly actual spring water. At least that's how they're marketed. It was kind of a thing in the UK that it was kind of seen, if you're going to sell this stuff, it's actually kind of got to be natural spring water and not bloody tap water. But I don't know. I haven't kept up with this recently, so there might be blooming brands in the UK that are effectively tap water that have been,
most of it's tap water. Now. They just don't call it spring water.
Yeah,
they call it purified water, and that's perfectly.
Or mineral waters. That's
the problem I have with bottled water, whether it's taken from a spring or a tap, is that we have various water basins in the world. Like the Great Lakes Basin has its own watershed. The Mississippi River has its own watershed and basin. You get to a continental divide, and now you got another basin on the other side of the continental divide. When you take it from one basin and sell it to another, you're making an imbalance in the water volumes. All water is reused. I mean, there's not a single molecule of water out there that somebody else hasn't had in there that hasn't pissed out. We've just cleaned up all the nasty stuff and moved it on, which really makes me laugh, because people hear that, Bill Gates figured out a way to use sewage to drink it, and it's like, and everybody goes, ooh, well, what do you think's in your tap water?
Yeah, I just don't get that.
Every bit of water you drink at some point was dinosaur piss.
I'm going to say, to be fair, if people are worried about drinking piss, Australia's been running that con on the rest of the world for years, to be fair, because they won't sell it over there, but they sell something called Foster's across the rest of the world.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought with the truth in advertising that they've got to change their slogan, to Foster's. It's the shit we convince Americans to drink.
Foster's, Australians drink.
Australians don't drink it.
Right.
Not being a beer drinker, I have no information on this.
Mm. Well, I have it on good authority from many of your countrymen that they do not drink Fosters.
Yeah, I have heard that if anybody goes over there and orders a Foster's, they know they're a tourist and laugh at them.
Mm.
Is anybody here a beer drinker?
No.
I'm drinking beer right now.
Okay, so that's one.
Okay, Jeff, you're probably the
out.
only one here.
Yeah, I'm currently drinking Heineken. I mean, the only thing Foster's can actually really say is what would be a good slogan is, at least we're not Budweiser.
I have heard of using beer in a diluted form to boost compost.
That would make sense. It's got all
Yeah,
sorts
Is
of...
that because of the
actually-
yeast?
Mark, in the U.S., some cities have passed laws against collecting rainwater, but the issue there is usually that they don't want open rain barrels to be breeding grounds for mosquitoes.
So you can just legislate for closed rain barrels, can't you?
That would be
there's
the
all kinds of
intelligent thing to do, but instead they make blanket rules that, ignore what the actual problem is and just screw up everything.
there's all kinds of systems to regulate what water gets into a barrel and what doesn't, and how it stays in there, and what physical solids of other things like bugs don't get in there.
The main thing would be just to put a top over it, even like a piece of window screen, so that the insects can't get in there, and that would solve the mosquito problem. But no, instead of that, they just say that nobody can have rain barrels.
I was actually surprised to find out that Florida doesn't have any regulations about collecting rain.
Ox, if your liquid is ice cold, you're not drinking it, you're eating it.
In Georgia, I think the only regulation of water they have down there is that you can't give to people who are in line waiting to vote.
Now, I was wondering how that law's written, that you can't give them water, but can you sell it to them? So could I go down there and give it to the people standing in line for a penny a bottle, and if they don't have change, I'll extend credit?
I think you'd get in trouble there, but I would also think that if somebody's in line waiting and the person next to them doesn't have a penny, that they're going to pay for it for them.
I expect that there'd be a lot of that happening, that somebody would give me a nickel and tell me to give one to the next 5 people.
No, probably a big corporation would get the government to crack down on you and then do it themselves.
I was just wondering if, depending how the law is worded, that might be a way around it. Because it's a stupid law in the first place, so they probably didn't take a lot of time being careful about their wording.
Good point.
Well, I'm going to have to make a move, guys. It's been nice to talk to you.
Okay. We've been going 2.5 hours. Maybe we should just wrap it up here.
Okay. Well, I'm going to jump out anyway. I'll just quickly plug then. I've got it penciled in for 12 midday on Monday. That's UK time, so I don't know what's that about. What's that about? 7 a.m. Eastern.
Well,
I
you're
think,
6 hours ahead of me here.
Yeah, so it'd be like 6 a.m. your time. I should be having Isaiah on for this discussion about whether atheism is a cult or not. Okay. Short answer is no, it's not. But he's going to argue otherwise. So we'll see how that goes.
Of course, it's not a cult; it's a religion.
Yeah. We'll see how that goes. All right, I'll see you later, guys. All right.
Okay.
Take care, Jeff.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Jeff.
All right.
Okay. Anyone else have something they want to plug before we go?
Yes. Tonight on Godless Grannies, myself and Deb, who is fairly new to our community, are going to be talking about the mental health effects of the Texas platform of hate laws that they're going to come up with in the next assembly and things. And that'll be on at 7 o'clock on YouTube. Check it out.
Yeah, I've only seen Deb a few times, but yeah, she has a channel dedicated to discussing mental health issues.
Yeah. I think I'm going to mostly just be the the voice of challenge tonight. She's far more expert than I.
Okay, yeah, that's Godless Grannies on in about 3.5 hours.
And then after that, there will be Bee's open mic night, correct?
I believe so, but Bee's been on the road and didn't do his Monday night show. I'm not certain whether or not he'll be on tonight.
Yeah, that's certainly a possibility. And those two shows overlap a little bit, so if I'm going to be on Bee's, I'm going to be late to it.
Yeah, well, that's usually what I wind up doing, is watching Granny and then going to Bee's after Granny wraps up, which is, already a bit of the way into Bee's show. But it's going to happen in our community. You really can't schedule a stream that you won't be overlapping someone if you're trying to do it in the evenings in the U.S.
That is true.
Well, I'll just let, since we have Lavender Lady here, I'll let her plug her own channel.
Good idea.
3.5 hours, there will be Lavender Lady.
Oh, you're doing tonight also?
Which I'll be probably over there.
Okay,
Yes,
yeah.
like
people have gotten a little confused because you've changed your schedule. So
often, yes, I know. And
so, what time is that tonight?
Say again, hon?
What time tonight?
Me is at 7 p.m. Eastern.
Okay. 6 Central and 4 Pacific. We don't care about that.
You got it. And we can count down the days until Kate moves.
That's how you can tell you're old. When you can do the time translations like that, because you're used to hearing it on TV so often.
Yeah, as a matter of fact.
It was like every show on network TV, that was the closing line.
Yeah, you had the Eastern, and then Central was an hour off, Mountain was 2 hours off, and then Pacific was on a different broadcast schedule. So it was not an hour off of Mountain. It was, I think, at the same clock time as Eastern.
No, it's two. It's okay. I mean, like 11 o'clock news in New York is 11 o'clock news in LA.
Yeah, that's what they would try to do. Unless it was a live broadcast, and then, of course,
right.
Then they had to separate for the Pacific being 2 hours later than Central. They rarely mention Mountain Time.
I've never heard them mention Mountain Time, ever.
I had a couple times, but yeah, you're right. It wasn't very often.
Well, aside from Colorado, is there, any major city in Mountain Time?
Well, there's Arizona, New Mexico, Wyoming, Idaho, chunks of Montana.
Big empty states without any major cities.
Well, yeah, but still, they're there.
Yeah,
well,
so they're just
Phoenix was something.
There's enough.
Yeah, they figured it wasn't a big enough audience that they had to mention it.
It's a big enough audience to fuck up our politics.
Well, that's exactly. A whole other discussion. We're not going to start now. Okay.
And then there's this kittiness who wants attention.
and I will be back here tomorrow night at 10 p.m. Central.
And I will be bringing many dad jokes.
Excellent.
Oh, no. It's dad joke night. Oh no. Do they require dads to go through like classes to learn those, or never mind?
I just want to say, sorry.
It's not specifically dad jokes. It's just National Joke Day. So any
Same
kind
thing.
of jokes.
I wanted to say thanks for breaking me in.
Well,
we love breaking people.
We're glad to have you here. You added to the discussion. Okay, so with that, we will bid you all a good night, and we will see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Ooh.
Good night. Bye, chat.
Good
Bye.
morning.
Oh, wait. Sorry.
Yep.
I almost forgot to thank my subscribers here.
Oh my.
Oh
So,
dear.
glad to see that Ox is still with us. And, Ox and Robert X have been my best moderators for years. So definitely don't want to lose them. And Mark Caesar's been in the side chat here with us today. And Schizocrasher, of course. As well as Jyuni the Apostate and Lavender Lady, Greg Hartwick, and Dog. So appreciate you all keeping me going. I'm sorry that occasionally I do forget to thank you, but yeah, I just don't thank you often enough. Okay, so with that, we will log off here. So we will catch you all later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.